Thanks for purchasing the Ryonet Specialty Printing DVD. Today, retro, distressed, and all-over printing is extremely popular. We've created this DVD to teach you the best techniques for employing these unique methods of screen printing. This DVD is going to show you everything you need to know to print soft-hand, retro, and all-over prints, including how to create artwork in Photoshop and printing with easy-to-use Plastisol inks. We're also going to show you how to print over seams, print tags, and how to blend inks for a natural, unique look every time. This DVD is laid out so you can watch each lesson individually or all in a row. As always, Ryonet's here to help, so if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or visit our website, silkscreening.supplies.com. Why don't you sit back, enjoy, and we hope you learn a lot.
Let's work on the Ryonet logo and give it a distressed or retro look, similar to the style of the text at the bottom of the logo. We're going to create this by using the brush tool. First step is to create a new layer and move it to the top of your layer palette in Photoshop so it is at the very front of the image. After you've selected the brush tool from your tool palette, you can specify what type of brush stroke you want to use, and we're using a spray type of brush. Using this tool, you can add a distressed look to your artwork, but be careful to only use it sparingly, quick clicks with the mouse like this. Otherwise, if you drag it across, you will cover your whole image. This spray style may look even better if we enlarge it by using the Master Diameter tool on your brush stroke options palette. Experiment with a style that you think works best for your artwork. Working on just the back layer and using an even bigger brush size leaves you with this type of retro or distressed look. Now, let's talk about printing an image like this. In order to print this artwork as is, you will need a RIP software for your printer, so you will be able to print on halftones. Looking at the design, the image is not solid and uses gradient lines. Compare that with the text below, and you can see the difference. The text is already posterized, while the logo above is not. In order to accomplish this, you will want to use the Threshold tool. Let's re-examine this process. Here, on the American flag, we're going to make the top of the flag look distressed like the rest of the flag. Last time, we used the brush tool. This time, we're going to use the eraser tool, which works in the same manner. There are many types of eraser brush strokes available. You can find more brush styles by typing in Photoshop brush strokes in Google. Once you work your way across the design or artwork you are working on and add the distressed look you want, you will want to posterize the image. Before you do this, make sure you flatten the image so the effect applies to all layers. Next, select the Threshold tool from the Image tab and use the slider to determine the amount of posterization you want your image to have. This eliminated the gradient lines, so you don't have to print in halftones. Let's go back to the logo design and discuss halftone printing with this type of distressed artwork. When printing the distressed look, it's always recommended to print with a high mesh in order to lay down a thin layer of ink onto the substrate. When printing a halftone image, you typically use a 32 to 55 line halftone, but when you are doing a distressed print, you don't want the halftone lines to always print perfectly, so you want to use a higher line halftone, like a 65, 70, or even a 75-line halftone on a 280 or 305 mesh screen. Selecting this halftone range is under the Print with Preview mode in Photoshop. First, select Print with Preview, and then click the Show More Options box on the Print with Preview menu if it's not open already. Select Output, and then click the Screen button. This will bring up an additional box. Under the Ink tab, select Black because you're always printing black. The frequency box is how fine of a halftone you are working with, and this is where you would select your value between 65 and 75. With a one-color print, you also typically will go with the 22.5 degree or a 52 degree angle. Keep in mind that the screen mesh runs at a 45 degree angle and you want your printing angle to run against the screen mesh, so a 22.5 or 52 degree angle works best. Lastly, in the shape box, you will choose ellipse dots. You can experiment with other shapes in order to get the most unique print possible, but the ellipse dots work best the majority of the time. Again, experiment with different techniques like a mezzotint screen. This is a random dot pattern that gives a completely different look. Go ahead and hit the OK button, and as long as you have a RIP software printer, you'll be able to print the halftone image. Remember that if you do not have a RIP software printer, you will need to posterize the image using the threshold tool. Once the screen is exposed, we can print this halftone logo. Measuring is always a good idea when doing something like a logo, so you consistently print the logo in the same position on the shirt every time. Apply the ink to your screen and print. We're using a flash dryer and temperature gun to measure the heat of the flash dryer to ensure a proper cure. The placement of this print and shirt style does not allow us to run this print through the conveyor dryer. And finally, we have a printed logo with a very unique, distressed look applied to it. Keep in mind, everything used to achieve the printing in this DVD is available through silkscreening-supplies.com. Here is a printed film of some artwork we will print on the same shirt as the logo. This artwork also has some distressed elements to it and will actually be printed as a wraparound print on the side of the shirt. Here, we will also thin the ink by about 25% to add the distressed look of the print and give it a smooth feel when done. If you want a higher opacity of the ink but still want a soft hand, you can use soft hand additive to create this effect. Apply the ink to the screen. Place the shirt with the side seam down the center of the palette. Print and dry. Here you can see that because the ink was reduced, it was able to cover the seam better than just straight ink would have. Reducing the ink is an alternative to recessing the seam, as shown earlier. Now we'll print a retro t-shirt like this. Images you want to print can be found from many sources like the internet or clip art. As demonstrated on the Ryonet logo, we're going to use the eraser tool to add a distressed look to the flag and use the threshold tool under the Image tab to posterize the image for printing. Another method to adding the distressed look to a design like this is to apply a filter overlay to the image. In order to do that, you first want to use your magic wand tool and select some of the black in the image. Once that is done, go to the Select tab on the top menu and scroll down to Similar and activate it. This will select all the black in your image.